The Todd Shapiro Show.
Time to hit the button!
On Canada Talks, SiriusXM 167.
Okay, I believe we got Silas Garrison from HealthSpace.com. Hey, bud.
Hey, Todd. How you doing today?
Man, I'm good. You know, it's funny. You know, you're not only part of an amazing company with all these great cloud-based systems and helping governments from state to state to state and here in Canada, but you're also a publicly traded company, and I pay a lot of attention to the public markets. You know that off air, as we've had a beer together in the past, and it was just it was just a tough day on the markets. And when you ask me how I'm doing, I can tell you honestly, it wasn't the greatest day, but everything else is good. So what can I say?
Yeah, there's always going to be those down days, I will say, and this was one of them for sure.
Yeah, it's an interesting day in many different sectors, from apparel companies like Canada Goose and Abercrombie and Fitch to cannabis didn't do great today. And it's how I've asked you this in the past, but as the CEO of a company, how much do you pay attention to HS as your ticker symbol and how the stock is doing, as opposed to sort of like running, or not as opposed, but in comparison to running the actual business side of things?
So I will say I do not pay much attention at all to the day-to-day share price. Jeff Bezos of Amazon, he's pretty famous for saying, you don't want to wake up one day, stock's 10% up, and all of a sudden you feel 10% smarter. But then the next day it's down 20%. Are you going to feel 20% dumber? So I look at it the same way that, the markets are an emotional circus of their own. And while we are very cognizant as CEO of what the share price is doing, it's not something that I just watch, refresh every day on a moment-by-moment basis for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. That's a good advice, I think, for even investors, because investors sure get pretty up, the day something does well, but they try and hide when they get down. So, what is going on with HealthSpace? Any sort of new developments that you might want to share?
You know what? We just released, put out a press release, I believe it was last week or the week before, with some new developments and new sales. We've branched into the state of North Carolina, as well as a few other countries around or counties around the country, I should say, in the U.S. And, there's a lot of sales development. So really, as I took the helm of CEO, one of the big things that I've mantraed from the beginning is growth, growth, growth. And we are doing just that. So we've really been lighting a fire and restructuring a lot underneath our sales team, and that's starting to now show the fruit and the traction. We put out quite a few press releases this year of just new sales. And within government, our sales cycles, though typically are long, we are shortening them up more and more as we go along. And what that does is we're just filling the pipeline with more and more government agencies, and we're seeing that the desire to buy our cloud solutions is growing up very fast. So lots going on, and as time goes on over the next few months, there's going to be, there should be a lot more sales announcements in terms of growth.
Sounds very exciting. Healthspace.com, and as I said, HS being their ticker symbol. Do all your due diligence, anything investment wise, unless you're me, and then I don't do that very well, as judged by today, as I told you, Silas. The cloud-based system you speak of, for those that hear that term a lot and aren't really quite sure what it is and its benefits and how it benefits governments and how it might even benefit, say, their own company. And maybe there's someone listening out there with a couple hundred employees and is thinking to themselves, how can I have a cloud-based system that I work with? Maybe you can help explain that. And I know, again, we've sort of touched on this, but I always think we have new listeners here and there, so they might want to hear it for the first time.
Yeah, I can do a quick reprisal of some of it. Being cloud-based just simply means that you've got real-time access to all your information from any device you want. So if you're on your phone, you can access your information and your data through a secure portal, which we provide, or you could be on your desktop. You could be in the Maldives, vacation. It doesn't really matter. And that's the beauty of being cloud-centric, right? So you have real-time access securely to all of your information at any given time, no matter where you're at, as long as you have an internet connection. So obviously that being kind of the big pro of being cloud-based, from our standpoint, our system is world-class in managing high-level complexity sets of data. So when a government agency comes to us and needs to set up a new software application, we're able to deliver them in a very short timeline, weeks, not months, not years, but weeks, a cloud solution that is tailored fit to their needs. So whether they've got 40 employees and working at the agency and 10,000 businesses that they regulate, or if they've got 200, kind of the same for us. We're able to take it, bake it down into a really simple process of a few steps, and we're able to turn on their system with exactly their tailored needs in just a few short clicks. It's very different than really what a lot of other software companies offer in our space, which are either desktop, kind of old school software based, or they're usually built from the ground up. Like you go up, show up day one, and then they build it out over months, even years, to the specs of whatever the agency requires. We can do the same with just a few clicks via our cloud solution.
Is this something, when you're doing a big cloud-based system, like who would be big competitors, and do people start thinking of like the major names, like the Microsofts, the IBMs, the Apples, stuff like that?
So there are several big notable names. The one that is kind of in our space, it's not like a Microsoft or an IBM per se, but very large publicly traded company. There's one called Tyler Technologies. TYL is their ticker symbol on the NASDAQ. There are large companies that actually play in our space, and it really shows the depth of the industry that we sell into. So, Tyler Technologies has like a $10 billion market cap. They'd be one of our biggest competitors by size. But actually, we beat them out very consistently. We beat them for the state of Florida. We've beaten them on a couple of mid-sized sales since then. So, yeah, there's definitely a lot of competition in our space. Like Microsoft and Apple wouldn't be kind of really a great parallel. But we borrow technology from those large providers such as Microsoft. They have a database application that we utilize within our software system. So, there's definitely a lot of competition, but our solutions are truly stand out in this space.
When you say a publicly traded company, and it's, it appeared that maybe it's doing well on the markets. Do you sit and try to compare that now when you being a public traded company go, hey, maybe our share value should be where theirs is around?
So it's a great question, and really the way I would answer that is it shows the growth that we have to go. So being a smaller cap company on the CSE, trading at a 5 cents ish a share, we've got a long ways to go before we know we start to really gain mass traction. So they have a $10 billion market cap. One, they're getting a more fair value a lot of times than a lot of times CSE companies often get, where it's a more of an emotional roller coaster sometimes. But then secondarily to that is it shows that the market that we sell into is vast. We're talking about billions of dollars that government agencies spend every year on software and technology, and we can sell right into that vertical in a way that really no one else is doing with a product that is truly best of breed.
Well said. Silas Garrison joins us from healthspace.com. Are you traveling lots with the company? You mentioned different states and everything. Is that part of your gig, or is there a home base for you?
Yeah, so I'm based out of Charlotte, North Carolina, and that is what I would call home base for myself. But I do travel quite often. I do some speaking here and there just to get attention in various areas, whether it's on technology or just kind of partnerships. Was traveling to University of Notre Dame in Indiana not too long ago. And then we've got another conference coming up, which I'll be speaking at. It's going to be in Nashville, Tennessee. So I do a good bit of traveling, but honestly, I try to pare that down as much as I can to focus on the core growth of the company, as opposed to just getting, stuck on a plane and burning time there, as opposed to growing our core strengths.
And what are thoughts from people across wherever you do travel to, Silas, about, cloud-based systems in general and sort of protection of information and obviously not just protection of the information within the system itself, but then not being shared in data protection?
Yeah, it is definitely a hot button issue, really for anybody considering a cloud application, but especially within government. And we go to great lengths to facilitate third-party audits, security tests, stress testing, you name it, a long laundry list of things that we put ourselves through in order to show to our clients, hey, listen, someone has tried, we went through all these penetration testing, making sure that no one could break in and steal your information. We can show that that was impenetrable. Further, we also produce all sorts of other remediations for ensuring that we don't, just sell data out the back door. You give it to us, you trust us with it. We don't just sell it out the back door. So we do are very cognizant in terms of how we treat our customers, their information, and knowing that security is really paramount when you're adopting any sort of software solution, but especially a cloud solution.
Technology is always evolving and rapidly moving. And, one of the things we've talked about in the past as well, Silas, is that that's sort of your background and you know how to write code, you know how to write programs and stuff. Are you guys at a point where you over at healthspace.com where you're sort of cutting edge and or is it always kind of keeping up with the new? I mean, I would find that stressful is what I'm getting at.
I find it, what you find maybe stressful or sounds stressful, I find it fun.
Nice.
So that's probably a big difference. So my team and I find great satisfaction in building the next greatest thing and always looking as the way to improve ourselves. So we don't really have a lot of challengers in our space that are, really besting us on technology. In fact, we have no competitor that's really bested us in terms of what we offer. But that doesn't mean that we rest on our laurels. We keep pushing ourselves. We keep finding ways to make the software easier, more powerful, faster, what have you. So one of those things is, pushing new product lines. And the myhealthdepartment.com, that's one of the things that we've made a lot of strides on over the past couple months in terms of development. And we should be releasing a new version of that to some of our clients this summer. And for, listeners who maybe haven't heard me touch on that, myhealthdepartment.com is essentially the business-oriented platform that will allow business operators regulated by a health department, aka like a restaurant, to go in and access their information free of use. And so there's been a lot of developments that we've been doing just to keep ahead of the game to ensure that we are the industry leader in what we do.
And is there smaller like companies and individuals that be like, oh, this sounds great, like this cloud-based platform? Is there anyone that's too small to utilize your services is what I'm getting at?
Absolutely not. No, there is no one too small and really, honestly, no one too big to utilize our software applications. It's about, finding those certain people. And if someone found interest or said, like, I really need a data management solution that manages, licensing applications, or I can go out and do field inspections, whether that was a septic inspection, a plumbing inspection, or a food inspection, right? All of it is applicable, and we're willing and able to sell to anybody, government or non-government. We just happen to focus on really the biggest fish in front of us, which is government.
Well said. Silas Garrison is joining us. The word blockchain is coming back into favor, and people often correlate it with how Bitcoin is doing, even though there's separate entities. Bitcoin is used on a blockchain, but blockchain has many other different solutions. And I know that's something that HealthSpace has talked about before, sort of exploring that side of technology as well. Where you stand with that?
So we've got a system that is at the ready in terms of implementing blockchain. We've deployed some prototypes with the city of Peterborough in Ontario. And what that just goes to show is that what we've taken the steps and the measures to do is we've integrated it directly into our cloud solution. So blockchain is really good for kind of immutable data, distributed systems where there's multiple parties who have to account for pieces of information or various elements of information. And so, government and private sector, two separate entities, manage their data separately, their information separately. Blockchain is a really great use case there. So we've actually already built out the technology stack to actually be able to implement and sell such a solution whereby we can connect the private sector with the public sector via a blockchain or a distributed ledger system. And really, we're just treating it as a core R&D initiative. It's actually not extremely expensive because we've got great partnerships with the likes of Simachain. And what we're able to do is when, government agencies, when the business world kind of catches up in terms of a buying market kind of desire, we're going to be able to strike upon that. So blockchain coming back in favor is great. I love the fact that it is a viable technology for the future. And I think everybody's just waiting for those right business opportunities to be able to capitalize on. And we have the tech there for when those business opportunities arise.
Silas, CEO of healthspace.com. Are there cool conferences and trade shows and things within your space that would be good for someone who's a bit, not necessarily, I don't want to say this in the wrong way, but not necessarily a tech geek who's always up to date with what's going on, but someone who's interested in exploring and learning and something that HealthSpace might be at?
So from a industry standpoint, there's a big conference coming up in July in Nashville, Tennessee called the National Environmental Health Association.
Hang on a second. I'm writing that down. That sounds like a great place to go to a conference in Nashville.
Come join us. I would love to meet up. But it would be that would be a great industry-specific one. You'd learn a lot about environmental health and what goes into it. And really, environmental health being that it touches every facet of really a person's life, whether you're at a swimming pool that's inspected by a government agency or you're at a restaurant that's inspected by a government agency, that all falls under the big umbrella they call environmental health, basically protecting people from elements of the environment, whether they ingest it or breathe it or what have you. And so that's a great one for just kind of learning and absorbing information. But from a technical standpoint, the laundry list could go on and on and on. I would say really finding a local meetup just to learn about software and engineering in general would be a better place just to learn about technology. But from an industry specific and very kind of more learning something that is relevant to your life, I think the NEHA, as it's abbreviated, National Environmental Health Association Conference, is a great one.
So it's really interesting stuff, actually, and technology is never going away, and it must be fun to be in an industry anyway that there's always so much to do.
It really is. I get bored really, really easily. And honestly, if I'm not innovating, I'm kind of just dying slowly inside. So it's really awesome to be a part of this company and be able to lead it because I get the opportunity to scratch my itch every day to innovate, lead, and grow. And it's exciting.
Another industry we often hear about that's sort of emerging is esports and stuff. Is there any correlation to things you do with the esports industry?
At this time, no. But as a consummate, I guess you could say, self-made nerd, I definitely am interested personally. I like video games, so I personally am interested. Health space regarding, maybe not, but I do find that esports realm very fascinating.
Awesome, man. Well, listen, I love catching up with you. Healthspace.com and myhealthdepartment.com, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Cool. And is that all up and running now?
So right now it's just in its beta phase. We're going to be rolling it out to specific clients. More specifically, inspections.myhealthdepartment.com. It's kind of a subsection of the website. You're actually able to view real-time inspections from some of our clients across the U.S. So that's actually one where you can access and play with some real information with just a few clicks.
Excellent. Well, good luck getting all that up and running, and thank you so much for this little tech update. That's what we should do with you, to be honest. We should get you on weekly to do tech updates, just like everything going on in the industry.
Dude, that sounds good. Let me know, and I'm happy to do it.
All right, like, new phones to buy or new crazy, garage door openers. I don't know, like anything.
If you want to do it, let's make it happen.
I like that because we can do the catch up with HealthSpace here and there, but we'll get you. Yeah, let's do that. Tech updates with Silas Garrison. You in?
I'm in.
Well, you told me you get a little bored. You told me you love technology, so we want to make sure you don't get bored ever. You got a homework assignment now, Silas, from us.
I appreciate it, man. That sounds good.
Oh, man, that's going to be so much fun. Okay, I love it. We'll do that more often, and we really do appreciate, we love sharing knowledge on the program here, and CEOs of very successful companies, I think, are good people to have share that knowledge, so thanks for your time.
Absolutely. Thanks, Todd. Appreciate it.
Cheers. Healthspace.com.
This is the Todd Shapiro Show on Canada Talks, SiriusXM 167.